Hello and welcome to the second episode of Create and Do with Andrew Chiu. Well, we made it, folks. We made it past the launch of the first episode. This second part is actually a second call that Mark and I did the day after, because he had, he was still talking with a lot of potential projects. So we had a bit of a break and we talked the following morning. Which was pretty cool because I got to kind of process what he had told me and take a look at my notes that, for stuff that I originally wanted to talk about. Because then, based on what he said, I got to think of new things, and I got to ask him more details about changing his status and changing his career from just being involved in the electric department as a gaffer to being cinematographer. Got to talk a little bit more about moving away from Los Angeles. And I also asked him for advice for, aspiring cinematographers and directors. And so here is part 2 of our conversation with Mark Lindsay.
I remember years ago, I was doing a job at the Hollywood Bowl, and one of the camera operators I had him. I wanted to get a really low and wide shot right in front of the bowl, looking up, and they were doing fireworks that night.
Oh.
And the camera operator that I had positioned down front there for that shot. That was the primo shot. I mean, that was the shot to have. And he was so excited about getting everything set and situated, but he never pushed record on the camera. Yeah.
And he didn't realize it.
No, he didn't realize it. We realized it later. Definitely realized it later. I'll never forget that. Yeah, multi-camera shoot. That one was the hero shot too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like the fireworks and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh.
So when you made that decision to shoot rather than gaff, like what
Yes.
flipped that switch? Because also, I know, first ACs and operators that are like, oh, I never want to be a DP. That's a very political role and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm. Well, I had realized that a lot of the guys I was working with as a gaffer, well, you have to realize that at that time, that was the advent of digital cameras. They were just coming out, like the Red MX1 and stuff like that.
Right, so like 2007, yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's about when it was, 2007, 2008. Right? Well, no, this was probably around 2009, I'm guessing, because the MX1s had been out for a moment, because I'd worked with them as a gaffer. But I was realizing after several years of doing this that now the age of the DPs I was working with, the age was really dropping. They were becoming much, much, much younger guys. Whereas I would typically, as a gaffer, work with DPs that were 40 and 50 years old. I'm now working with guys that were 20-somethings. There was sort of a saying within our industry. It's like all you need is mom and dad to buy you a red camera and you print a business card and now you're a DP.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that was honestly what was going on. And I was realizing that I knew more on set than these DPs I was working for. And I'm working for guys, and they're like, okay, they'd show up with a red camera and a zoom lens. and then just have you light the set. And that was it. I mean, that was it. That they were, and here they are getting these awesome reels off of this. And, they're getting all the, some of them winning awards. I mean, it was crazy watching what was going on. And I guess I had subconsciously realized that I knew more about what was going on set and about what was happening with the images than these guys did. And I never consciously had that sat down and made a pro and a con list or anything like that, because I never did anything like that. It was just a case of it sort of happened in the background of your brain, and there was talk amongst the crew, amongst the senior guys on the crew, like, my peers, like with the key grip, and even some of the producers. Even some of the producers are going, oh, Jesus, this guy, why aren't you just doing this? Because they're sitting here tweaking with this tiny little backlight way back in the background about something where even me as an experienced gaffer, I know that what we're wasting time on right now about this tiny light half a block down the road, it's not going to make any difference. It really isn't. We're making a commercial here. Typically the cuts are like every 3 to 4 seconds anyway. You're not even going to see that little image back there. Now, yes, as a professional, you want it to be done correctly, but it was starting to get frustrating working with some of these people. And I think too, part of it was these younger people. These weren't guys who had come up through the film industry and made their bones, paid their dues. These were young guys coming right out of nowhere. Maybe some of them had gone to film school. A majority had not. They just had a camera and just started shooting stuff. So you just got tired of working with people that you knew more than, and finally it just reached a tipping point. And one day, right out of the blue, there was no animosity, no animosity at all. I still called the DP sir or ma'am, even though they were younger than me. And it didn't matter that they were younger. It was because you respected that position. You always said yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am, that type of thing when you're on the set. Well, these younger people didn't have that set etiquette. So it was a much, much more unprofessional set working with this. It was the shifting dynamic of the film industry at that time, and a lot of us weren't. It was never verbally said, but it was an underlying thing. You felt that way.
Right.
But it all just reverted back to you put your professionalism in front of if you were disgruntled or not, and you just, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, got your paycheck, went home. You just do your job, just because somebody else is unprofessional, just because other people aren't following the code, I guess, and I say that in italics, you just move forward and do your thing, you just because they're being unprofessional doesn't mean you're going to be unprofessional, that type of thing. You bring, it's like you still bring civility and professionalism to the set, that type of thing.
Right.
And then you notice as a gaffer, this is my best boy, these are my electricians, this is the key grip I work with on a regular basis, and this is his crew. And now all of a sudden you notice that your electricians and best boy and the key grip and his crew, his best boy and his grips, Now they are older than the DP as well. Then, of course, the DPs, these younger DPs, started to flex a little bit, flex their sat muscle, and they'd say, "Hey, on this job, I've got I've got this key grip I want to work with." And you're like, "All right, yeah. Well, I mean, you hired the crew that you want. You're the DP. That's fine." So they bring in this young guy, who's maybe a friend of theirs, a guy that they've known for years and years, whatever. And you now notice that he is also younger, less regimented, also less professional. And now all of a sudden you realize, wow, I'm not even a key grip, which, by the way, is an extremely important job, in my opinion. A lot of guys just go, "Oh, it's a grip." No, that's not the case. You know what? You put the average person in a closet with a C-stand and they're going to put their eye out,
I've seen them do some amazing things, yeah.
Absolutely. A good key grip is one of the most valuable things in the industry. And I mean, I've worked with a lot of really good guys. I've watched Colby Dunford do things that just, my jaw drops, because my brain doesn't work that way as a key grip, But I've watched Colby Dunford do things that I just find incredible. Him and Joseph Messier and all these guys, just phenomenal key grips. But I would say that now all of a sudden, even as a gaffer, I'm finding I know more than this key grip that this guy has brought in. And you're just like, wow, this is just, and it would get painful. And so I guess it was just sort of an underlying thing that just sort of resonated at some point. And one day it was just, I think that's it. I'm going to start shooting. And I suspect some of it too. My wife Jessica, I think there was I can't remember a conversation taking place. Jess is a makeup artist. She's a 798 New York Union makeup artist. She's also a 484 Texas Guild makeup artist or union makeup artist. A very talented woman, incredible makeup artist. I've watched her do things with makeup, and I'm not just saying it, because of our relationship. I mean, her work is absolutely impeccable. She's one of the most professional people I've ever worked with on set when we have had the opportunity to work together. Her work ethic is fantastic, but and her talent is just incredible. But I'm sure at some point there, I don't remember a specific conversation, but I'm sure at some point she probably said, after listening to me, venting after a job or something, she, somewhere down the line, she probably said, "Well, why don't you just start shooting?" That type of thing. So I'm sure that probably happened. So all of that was well, I would say yes, that did happen. I can't remember a specific time when that happened, but I would say that yes, it probably did happen. And that was it. I said, that's it. I'm going to start shooting. That's why I started reaching out. And then, yeah, I think that was probably it. Because, you're working with these younger DPs, and they don't know how to light. They look at a monitor, and they look at how it looks in the monitor. That's it. They're lighting off of a monitor. Even today, I use a light meter. Even today, I still do with digital cameras. And, of course, I use a waveform and stuff like that now. Tools that we didn't have when we shot film. But I use a waveform and things like that, other tools that are available to me. But I still use a light meter to this day. I know a lot of guys that do. A lot of my peers do. It's a great tool.
I remember my DP friends were, around that time, like 2009 or so, when, the digital was really coming up and people were buying extra light meters in case, because they were like, are these even going to be around anymore in a few years?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting in my office at my house right now, and I'm looking on my desk right now. This is no exaggeration. Is a Minolta spot meter. I can see here's a Minolta color temp meter. I'm looking at Spectra light meters laying on the desk. On the sideboard in the office, there's a couple more Spectras sitting over there on the counter. Oh yeah, it's light meters. Absolutely, I've always got light meters. Always used them, and I probably always will.
Right.
Always, yeah.
So
yeah,
then,
they're good. It's
when
so good.
yeah,
It's ratios. You use them for ratios. I mean, you can get exposure without them. That isn't an issue. But I like my ratios to be balanced a certain way, and I want things to be specific with my image that I'm capturing.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. So you were still in LA when you switched to being a DP, or had you moved already?
We were in the process of moving from Los Angeles to Austin. The process of moving.
And
yeah, we had decided, and I have to be honest, the move at the time was my wife was. I was supporting her in this decision that yes, let's move, but I must admit it was primarily her going, let's get the heck out of LA. This is horrible. and I agreed with her. I really did. And I supported her because if I'm shooting, it doesn't really matter where I live. I mean, because I get on a plane to go to work. Now, I knew it was going to be a little bit harder road to hoe because if you're in Los Angeles, it's much easier to get clients, I suspect, because, you're at the hub of the industry. So I'm going to have to build these relationships and fly myself because a lot of the jobs I'm doing starting out aren't going to be big enough jobs where they're going to fly me in, to do the job. Because, I mean, you can't swing a dead cat in Los Angeles without hitting a DP. I mean, there's tons of DPs all over the place. I mean, they're everywhere. And now, as it turns out, now I live in Austin, it's the same thing here. I mean, everybody's a DP. I'm sure it is in Toronto. You could find a DP any major market or any major city you go to. You can find guys that call themselves a DP. It's just, finding a guy who has the technical and artistic ability to do whatever you need for your project, that type of thing.
Right. And
yeah, so
she's not originally from Los Angeles.
No, she's from Tampa Bay, Florida.
Oh, Florida, okay.
Tampa Bay, Florida, yeah. She had been living in Los Angeles, and she was a working makeup artist doing her thing. She was doing a lot of movies, and she did commercials and movies and all sorts of stuff. But even she said, yeah, let's get out of here. Yeah. I mean, everybody was getting taxed out in Los Angeles. Home prices were just going through the roof. And the quality of life was important to us. She wanted our quality of life to be better, and leaving Los Angeles was going to give us that. I'm a bit of an outdoorsman. I'm an avid fly fisherman. I like to camp. I like being, out in nature and stuff like that. And to do that, you had to drive quite a ways outside of Los Angeles to do any of those sort of things. So she said, let's move somewhere where we could do those type of things that you like, that are closer to us, where you live that lifestyle instead. That type of thing. So we decided we each picked 3 cities to look at. We had the conversation of 3. You pick 3 cities, I pick 3 cities, and we both can mix 2 of the other person's cities. So we both picked 3 cities, and and Austin was on Jessica's list because we had been here at a wedding a year before, and she really enjoyed Austin. She really liked it, so Austin was the choice. That was it, and that's how we settled on Austin.
Well, I mean, uh, like stuff, I guess, when I was in like high school and university, I didn't
Hmm.
realize all those filmmakers came from Austin or lived in Austin. So, I mean, I think you made the right choice because it's become like this huge mecca now.
It is. It is. It's a great filmmaking city. The crews here are really good. Um, there's lots of equipment here. Um, the people are very enthusiastic about what it is they do for a living, and there's some good quality work here. Good quality people. Um, we're finding more and more productions are coming here. And when I say productions, I'm not speaking just in the genre of feature film. I'm speaking of commercial work as well. I have clients in Los Angeles and New York that shoot in Austin regularly. I mean, for national commercials. It's a great place for that type of thing. Location permits and shooting accessibility is really good. It's a very film friendly city, a very film friendly city. You don't have guys with blowers, yard guys that start them up when you're shooting just so locations go over and give them $100 to turn it off. That type of
Right,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. And,
That's Toronto.
yeah. Another thing that you have to remember too is like when you're in Los Angeles, you're shooting and you're doing this commercial. You have no idea how often you have to avoid seeing palm trees. You
Oh.
have to avoid that. Yeah, I mean that when you're shooting in Los Angeles. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there are times when I've got the perfect composition for a shot. That's the shot I want to take. It's exactly the right thing for this commercial. This is perfect. And then smack dab in the middle of the frame, there's this giant palm tree down at the end of the street. You're like, oh man. So you're going to have to remove that digitally because you're making a commercial and it needs to be everywhere America. It and palm trees are one of the things that you need to avoid. So yeah, palm trees they can be not an issue, but it's something. It's just another thing to think about, that type of thing. So, but yeah, it's a real film friendly city here. Very film friendly.
That's funny. And is there anything like work-wise that you ever want to do that you've never gotten to do yet? I mean, you've done so many things, but
What I would like to do in the film industry work wise, what type
or
of a
or in
job?
terms of like, oh, I wish we ever got to, do this sort of music video or this commercial or work with this person or
Um, yeah, there's a couple of things. There is a few things. I would like to do a big musical, as we'd spoken of earlier, a big musical feature. In the Seven Brides or Seven Brothers, Singing in the Rain, that type of thing. I'd love to shoot something like that. Um, I would like to. I would like to shoot a job and figure a commercial or a spec spot, something. I don't know what it would be, but I would like to try to shoot something on one lens.
okay.
That's always been in the back of my mind. I'd like to. I'm not sure what that lens would be yet, but I think it could be interesting because you would have to be very specific with camera placement. I mean, more so than you usually are. Um,
Yeah, I think
I'd
Call
like
Me
to
with
shoot
Your
something.
Name. I think Call Me by Your Name was shot with one lens.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that would be interesting. I would like to do that because I mean it would it would challenge you more so than a regular, what we do day in and day out. So I would like the challenge of that. What else would I like to do? I mean, there's always stuff in the back of your mind. I mean, there's stuff from jobs that you do and go, oh, I wish we would have done this, or I wish we would have done that. There's always something. Something out there. But even if it's just one specific shot, there are not every job, but there's always a job out there that you've done in the past and go, I really wish we would have taken the time to do this one shot. Not so much so because it works for the project, but because it's just a shot I would have liked to have done,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been really good to do that shot, that type of thing. So, yeah, that's it. But no, there's not something I could say, oh, yes, on this job, I think we should have done this one shot. No, there's none of that. But I don't have any regrets like that. But I think that there are things where you always would like to have done it from a creative point of view. Yeah.
Right. And in terms of like the best directors you ever worked with, what made them, like, what do you think made them good?
Oh, I want to phrase this correctly.
Yeah, you don't have to say any names, but I was just, I'm always trying to get better, so I'm trying to, this is my research.
But it's not even that. I don't want this to be a flippant answer. I want this to be an answer that has some weight to it, because that's a very important question. The best directors I have ever worked with do two of them. Well, more than two, but the two that really stand out to me. First of all, they've done their homework. They're prepared. They have their shot list. They have their vision. They know exactly what it is they want that this final project is. They have that vision in their mind. And that is their sole job, to record this vision. They want that vision recorded on film or on hard drive, as it were. They want it. That's the vision for my job. That's one thing. And they've done their homework. They've got their shot list. They know it's going to take 47 shots for us to get this. It's going to take 18 shots, whatever it is. That's what this is. And that's what we are here to do right now, today. In the time allotted today, we're going to shoot this, and this is what we need to do. And the other thing is, they trust their DP. If you trust your DP to use for the DP to use his tools to capture your image, because you're trusting your DP because of you've worked with him before in the past and you know he can do this. You have a working relationship with him, you're comfortable with him, or if it's the first time to work with that DP, you're looking at that DP's body of work on his reel and you say, yes, he can do this. This is the type of work that I want him. This is the type of professionalism and talent I want him to bring to my set, to capture my image, to capture my vision. If you trust your DP to do what needs to be done, it'll work. All DPs work differently. Some DPs are very, very hands-on, very, very alpha male on the set and run the set with an iron fist. Some guys are much more relaxed about it. They like the thing to be a much more harmonious flow with the crew, and you just move through the day and and all of a sudden at the end of the day, you've gotten all the shots and everybody's happy. Other guys are bulldoze through, go, 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 and you do that. And some guys work that way. A director has to be comfortable with the way a DP works on set. If you like the way a DP works on set, then and you like the images he captures, it works. So you need to trust your DP. That is important. If you're constantly coming up to your DP and going, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if?" or "Why are we doing that?" or "No, that needs to be wider." "No, that needs to be tighter." "No, this da 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 da." I mean, it's just an uphill. It's like you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and you're just constantly throughout the day dealing with that, and that can make for a painful day. It really can for everybody. Not and I mean everybody, because it's a painful day for the director because he's not comfortable with what's being done or the way it's being done. It's uncomfortable for the DP because he feels like the director is he feels like he's not communicating with the director correctly, or vice versa, or he feels like the director might be undermining what it is he wants to do. And your grips and electricians. These are the guys that are lifting these big, heavy pieces of equipment and rigging stuff and moving stuff around. And it's difficult on them. It's difficult on the art department because now the DP says, or the director says, "Oh, let's go to a wider lens." Well, now all of a sudden, it's a bit of a larger set. I need to move things around. They're not working correctly in the frame. I mean, it's not a good frame. The aspect is different. You need to change things around, and everybody's working hard. So for directors that have their vision, know what they want to do, and they've done their homework and a shot list. For commercial work, I'm speaking of specifically here. I'm sure the same thing is for feature, exact same thing. That's important. Those two things: trust your DP and having done your homework, know what your vision is. Those are important, very important.
And so, when you switched to gaffing and then you switched to DPing, have you gone and you haven't DP'd any feature films yet, right?
No. I've been offered a couple of small independent films. I've been offered a few, and when they were starting, I mean, there was, of course, independent films start up a little bit faster than a big studio film. Studio film, okay, 2 months from now I'm going to start this film. Independent films start up a little bit quicker than that. Hey, I've got this little independent film I'm going to do. What do you think? We're going to start shooting it in 2 weeks. The problem is, for me, as a commercial DP, a lot of times I've already told these people I'm going to shoot this campaign for them in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks, or I know I'm doing other things. So it just hasn't worked out with my schedule yet. But yes, I'd love to shoot some feature films if it's something that interests me.
Right.
I would want it to interest me to shoot a feature film, because you're going to spend weeks and weeks, months on this thing, and there's a lot of preparation that goes into a feature film, and if you're not interested in it, why as a commercial DP, I don't have to be interested in the product I'm shooting. It's a commercial. This is what I do. I'm selling something. My job is to sell this hamburger, or to sell this car, to sell this piece of, this cosmetic brand, that type of thing. I know what that is. But as a feature film, I think you have to be a little bit more vested in it.
Yeah, it's so much of your life.
It is. And again, it comes back to quality of life. I mean, do you want to spend, say, 3 months of your life doing something that you're not really interested in?
Right.
Do you really want to? Yeah.
And besides musicals, you mentioned Silver Linings Playbook yesterday, which I found interesting. Any other What other movies are you like super into?
Um,
Like your favorite? Like if you had to, you know, Desert Island top five or something.
yeah. I know. I tell you what, I got to tell you, some of the movies that I really, oh my God, what was the name of that movie? It was a Daniel Craig movie.
Okay.
Oh, Daniel Craig, and
Channing Tatum.
he, no, it was Daniel Craig. He plays, no, and when I went, no, I wasn't poo-pooing Channing Tatum. I mean,
Yeah.
he's had a great career for himself. Good for him.
Knives Out.
What was the name? Daniel Craig. He plays a washed-up actor, that sort of lived his life in Hollywood. And the movie, flashback of a fool.
Oh, interesting. I don't know that one.
Flashback of a fool. I'm telling you, that movie. Okay, I don't buy movies. I, you know, I just don't buy movies. There's very rarely is there something that I will buy so I can watch it over and over. And, of course, Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner, I own those. I own Silver Linings Playbook, which I think a phenomenal. My God, I love that movie. But Flashback of a Fool is a movie. I watched it once. I probably rented it on some streaming service at some point. I probably just rented it. But I bought that movie immediately. I love that movie. Absolutely love that movie. There isn't anything in it cinematographically that sets it apart from a movie, but I really like the storytelling on that movie, the way that was done. I really like it. Now, something I have done about Flashback of a Fool, I have purposely never looked at the crew list on that to see who directed it or who shot it. I've purposely not done that because that, for me, is a movie I like. I just like to enjoy that movie.
Interesting.
I don't want to know who shot it, what format it was shot in. I don't want to know any of that. I really don't. That's a movie that's an hour and a half for me of complete and total escape. It's just one of those movies. And the music on that movie, just all of it just comes together. It's a type of a movie where I smile on it, I frown watching it, I can laugh at that movie, I can cry at that movie. It's that's just one of the all-time. That to me, that's just a great movie. So
yeah, I've never heard about it. I'm gonna go get it now.
Yeah, it's I think you can probably get it on rent it on Amazon Prime, I'm guessing. So
yeah,
for all
I'm
of
sure,
you people out there, all you people out there listening, you may watch it and go, "What the hell is he talking about?" That movie was meh, but no, it just resonates with me.
It's got a very good rating on IMDb, actually.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah,
okay,
it's very high.
Good. Yeah. If you're sitting here on your Google box looking it up, Andrew, I don't want you to tell me, well, so and so shot that, because I don't want to know.
I did look, and I'm like, ooh, and I'm not going to tell you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a movie that for me is the only movie I've ever watched where I purposely have not done any research on it at all. I just love, and the soundtrack on that movie is fantastic. I love the soundtrack on that movie. It's interesting because here I'm saying I'd love to do a musical, and now I'm referencing the soundtrack on that. And it's also made me think of, there's a movie with a Jamie Foxx movie called The Kingdom, I believe it's called.
Oh, where they go to Saudi Arabia or whatever?
Yes, exactly. They're part of the, I don't know, like FBI bomb investigation unit, whatever, one of those type of things. But the soundtrack on that movie really resonates with me. But to the point, I suspected who did the soundtrack on that movie when I saw it, and immediately looked it up, and I was correct. It was Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman did the music on the Kingdom. Phenomenal, extremely talented guy. But then again, I'm an Oingo Boingo fan from back in the day, so why would I not like Danny Elfman's work?
Wait, what's Boingo Boingo?
Oh, Oingo Boingo? Oh my God, back in the '80s, that was a band. That was a great band. Oh yeah. It was all part of the new wave post-punk bands. Like Flock of Seagulls, Oingo Boingo, Husker Du, all of that kind of stuff. And that was Danny Elfman, was Oingo Boingo.
Oh.
And now here he is with, I suspect, a slew of Academy Awards sitting on his mantle or in the back of his hall closet where he chooses to keep them. Extremely talented guy, yeah.
Right.
It's like Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo.
That's right.
Same thing.
His music thing.
Same sort of thing. Yeah. And these guys have gone on to do soundtracks for film and television. Yeah. But that's a great soundtrack from On the Kingdom as well. That's really good. There's a lot of good stuff there. But Flashbacks of a Fool. I put Flashbacks of a Fool in with this category with, I don't know what the category would be, but that, Silver Linings, of course. I'm sure there are lots of other small, great story type films out there that whatever that category is.
Right.
But that's the vibe that I would lean toward. I think if I were to go, okay, I'm going to do nothing but shoot films from now on for the rest of my life, that's it. But yeah, that's probably the category I would go with. Although, I don't know, complete opposite side of that, a big sci-fi movie. That would be great. Lots of green screen, lots of blue screen, lots of moving lights, lots of, time lapse, lots of, that type of stuff. I really like the technical aspect of it, but I think a good heartfelt story is pretty much my jam.
Right, yeah.
That's my thing.
It'll resonate with everybody.
It does.
Okay, I see someone's gonna mow the lawn, so I'm gonna conclude here and with this.
Okay.
So when I taught university, I'd never taught before, and so my approach to designing my classes was I thought, okay, what did I want when I was, like 20 years old and in class and, just wanting to get it the hell out of there? Like, what made me stay in my class? So I had thought, I always structured my classes like I'm going to teach them something practical. So, like, they'll leave with new skills, and I'm going to give them inspiration. So I always made sure to like show them work that I think that they don't know about. And then I also, and there goes the lawnmower, and also like I just gave them lots of time to work on their projects. So like they had one-on-one time with the professor about their project. So I obviously we're not on a project, so we can do the practical part and the inspirational part. And I'm sure there's aspiring cinematographers listening or people who are cinematographers. So like, what kind of what advice would you impart on anybody?
If that's a great thing. Thank you for asking me that and giving me the opportunity to answer that. The advice I would give for aspiring cinematographers is, first of all, don't be discouraged that you're not hired for a job. just because in your mind and your heart you know you can shoot that job doesn't mean, and the fact that you weren't chosen as a cinematographer to shoot that job, it doesn't reflect on that. It's like I said earlier, you're not, there's a million reasons why you're not the guy or the girl doing it. There's a million reasons. Also, keep shooting. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Find something that you like to shoot and shoot a lot of it. Whether it be beauty shots or whether it be food shots or macro shots or cars, whatever. There's a lot of DPs out there that specialize in a certain thing. They can shoot other things very easily, and they're very good at it and very qualified at it. But the thing that they're really the most passionate about and really enjoy shooting, you'll notice that they specifically end up shooting a lot of that stuff. There are a good friend of mine, Joe, he shoots a lot of cars. He's a car guy. You're going to do a Cadillac commercial, they're going to call him. A Ford commercial, a Toyota commercial, Chevy. He's the guy. There are guys that do specifically cosmetics. I don't know this because I haven't had this conversation with them, but I suspect they're passionate about shooting those types of things. They probably are. Therefore, it resonates in their work. And because they do more of it, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy type thing, They do more of it, so they should do more of it. It's the type of thing that they like to do. Find something that you like to do and work with it. Other work will come. There will be other types of work, but always shoot. Just shoot. Just get out there. Do stuff. Do free jobs for friends, with friends, about friends. Another thing, and this is important. This is probably more important than not. Remember that the people that work for you now, you may work for them later. The ebb and flow of our industry, the way people go, the way people, their career paths, because this guy is somebody's assistant today, doesn't mean he's not going to be the executive, he or she is going to be not going to be the executive producer later. Remember that. Just remember that. And again, just treat everybody with respect. Try to be polite. That's it.
That is very true. I know a guy here in Toronto who's a first AD, and he was training this third AD. He was just new. And then, like 10, 15 years later, he's an executive producer on Twilight.
You're exactly right. There was I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and he had reminded me in conversation that when I was gaffing, doing a film, there was an extra guy we had brought in to sit in a condor one night or something like that. And now this guy's a great big DP. So you just never know. You just never know. And you can learn something from everybody. You really can. And on every job you do, more times than not, you'll learn something. Whether it be something technical or whether it be something, I don't know. And as I say with my hand quotes, something spiritual or something, whatever. You'll learn something on every job. Every job you do. Every job you learn something. So just try to take it all to heart and remember it.
And in terms of inspiration, is there any works you would recommend people check out to learn about cinematography, or some works that you always go back to get inspired for cinematography, or that you learn
It,
from?
I do, and it's not a specific piece of work. It's generally work of specific people. It's the work very specific people do. There are certain DPs that I really enjoy their work. I like it a lot. There are certain DPs I don't really care for their work. It just doesn't, work for me. That type of thing. But find films that you like. Look up who the DP on that job is, and then look at that DP's body of work and go back and see those things, because it's not always a good DP can do different things. You can't just look at a film and go, "Oh, that's so and so's work." That's not always the case, because a good DP can shape the look of a project as a professional by using his tools to shape it to the way the director wants. But the ability to do that is difficult. It's very easy to just have a look. Oh, I'm the guy that does that look. It's very easy to do that. It's difficult to be able to give a different look. When I was starting out, there were a lot of DPs that I worked for as a gaffer that had a very specific look, and so I knew that we were going to light things a certain way. That's the way they like to light things. I knew for the beauty shot we were always going to use this. I knew for a medium we did this type of a vibe. Now it may be tungsten, it may be HMI, or a combination of blah blah, some variation of it, but it was always going to be that look. And those were the guys that did that. When I started shooting, it was very important to me that I not do that. I didn't want to be the guy that had that look. I wanted my body of work to be different. Even though it's just commercials, I don't want the jobs to look the same. I want there to be a big variation in my look. Now, if it's the right tool for the job and the right look for the job, so be it. That's fine, of course. But I didn't want specifically all my stuff to have that look. So, like I'm the heavy backlight guy, or I'm the super soft key light guy, or I'm the big low bounce guy, I'm the skip bounce guy. I didn't want to be that guy. So yeah, but I'm saying go find that DP's a DP of films that you like. Look at that DP's work. Look at that body of work, and chances are you'll probably find inspiration from them in their career now, or perhaps their lighting style early in their career, because it grows. Your lighting style grows. I mean, it's a living thing. I mean, the way you do things, as you evolve as a person, technically and emotionally and whatever, I suspect that resonates in your art. I really think it does. So I would say find that person, look at their body of work. Find a film you like, look at that DP's body of work, and do that for several things. And you'd be surprised how many times you find these little nuggets in there and go, wow, on this one scene, I really like that. That was really cool. And I got to tell you, as young DPs coming up now, the way social media and behind the scenes work is and stuff like that, it's so easy to find how things are done now. It really is. It really is. So I mean, you've got your computer. You can find out how things are done if you want to mimic it or add to it, or take stuff away away from it. But yeah, it's totally doable now.
Yeah, actually, I just saw on, I mean, it was just recommended to me on, YouTube or whatever, and like, Cook has their own channel now, and like, they brought,
Oh yeah.
they brought these old DPs. I think one from who used to work for Ridley Scott, on his commercial arm, and they're like breaking down how
Yeah.
like the scene in Blade Runner was shot and where the light is and what they did, whatever.
Absolutely. It's out there. It's out there now. I mean, back when back in the day, we didn't have that access. We just didn't have it. I mean, I go all the way back to the days of I had a pager. You'd get a page from somebody and go, oh, let me call that back. It might be work. That type of thing. So,
Right.
yeah. And that's as a gaffer. I mean, I can remember having an 800 number pager. It had an 800 number. Yeah, I mean, back in the day. Yeah. So those. But that information's out there for you. I mean, use that information. You don't have to do it on as grand a scale as what you're seeing on that channel. Like, for instance, on that Cook channel, you don't have to do it on that grand a scale. You can do it on a much smaller scale. But learn what light does. Learn to light. That is so important. So many guys out there just aren't adept at lighting. You know what I mean? You can really speed up the process or really slow down the process if you're good or bad at lighting.
Right. And yeah, I just find there's so many variables. Like a friend of mine was just asking me like, oh, do you have any resources about lighting setups and whatever? Because, he's in 3D, he does a lot of stuff in 3D. And
yeah,
I was saying, like I've been on so many sets and I've written down so many lighting setups and whatever, but really at the end of the day, it's like you need to know what the tools are and you need to know what your shot is and what you're doing. And if you know those things, then you know which combination to do. Like it's not just like unless you're doing something like product where it's like very fixed and nothing's going to move. But other than that, it's like you just need to know like what the principles are.
It's true. No, it's so true. I had a DP I used to work for when I gaffed, and he used to use a term that drove me up the wall, absolutely up the wall. He'd say, "Let's audition." He'd go, "Let's audition an 18K over there," and I'm like, "No, let's not audition that. We know what an 18K is going to look like over there." Coming back this way, we're professionals. We know what an 18K is going to look like over there on a stand, 4 feet in the air, ripping back across with quarter straw and, I don't know, Hampshire frost on it, whatever. We know what that's going to look like because we've done this for years. Let's not audition it. And he'd look at it and he'd go, no, I don't think I like that. Okay. Well, it just took 3 guys 15 minutes to go put that light in there. That's 15 minutes we're not going to get back. You do that 4 times in a day, okay, at 15 minutes a pop, that's an hour. That's an hour we could have been shooting. Yeah, let's not audition stuff. We know what stuff is going to do. We know exactly what stuff is going to do. So let's not audition things. Let's know how to light. And this guy is a very good DP. He knows how to light. And he's good at it, but that was just one of his sayings that just used to drive us up the wall when he'd say that. I remember that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my goodness, must have drove the directors nuts too.
I would like to say I could speak to that, but I have to say that when he would say, "Let's audition," everything just sort of blanked out, and I never really noticed the director's response because we were all just so, all they got myself and the key grip, we that type of thing.
Right.
Because a lot of times we'd look at it and, nah, let's not do that. We don't like that, that type of thing. So I don't think I ever really noticed what the director was doing when he'd say that. It would just sort of blank out everything at that point.
Right, yeah.
At some point, it comes down to is the art, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Right.
That's the thing. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Yeah, we're going to get a great looking project, but we know it's going to cost us this much money and this much time, which equates to this much money to get it.
Right.
So if people are willing to pay it, there you go. There you go. I personally just try to be more efficient. I try to be very, very, very efficient. I mean, I can look back and there are times I've made mistakes and gone, I should have done this, or I should have taken more time, or I say I shouldn't have done that. It's generally I shouldn't have done that more so than I should have done. But yeah, those things are out there. So.
All right. Well, that is a fantastic way to conclude. Thank you so much for doing this, Mark.
Hey, you're so welcome, man. You're so welcome. Thank you for thinking of me and asking me to do this. I've never done it before, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk like this. This is great.
Yeah, thanks, COVID-19.
Exactly, right? I tell you what, it's certainly a strange time right now. I'm living on Zoom. Lots of Zoom meetings.
Yeah, it's been amazing too, actually, because the Directors Guild here, they've been getting big names to come and do like little master classes every week. So like they had like Jean-Marc Vallée. We have KK Barrett this week, the production designer, like Spike Jonze is production designer.
Right.
And I don't know, I forgot, I should have sent you this. I forgot about it because it was like super last minute. But Rodrigo Prieto did a thing for NAB the other day.
Really?
Yeah, like they hadn't asked me anything,
Wow.
so people were just submitting questions to him for like an hour.
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, so it's been
You guys got it. It sounds to me like you got it worked out up there.
Yeah, I think they were like, oh, everyone's like available. Let's try to grab them for like 2 hours a week. Like, let's just do it.
Exactly. I know it's going to be interesting getting back on set after this COVID-19 thing. It's going to be very interesting getting back on set. I know I've got a thing coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's a project coming up, and it's safety first. Absolutely, safety first. But it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm part of a producers group here, and I'm seeing like a lot of the documents from all like the like Netflix and the UK and all like UK Film Commission and all this other stuff. And the proposals that are being proposed right now are just, some of them are like kind of nuts. It's like they're gonna get a location 3 days before shooting and like disinfect everything for 3 days and then you shoot and all this sorts of stuff.
Wow.
It's like nuts.
Wow. From a business point of view, that's you just think about all the additional safety features that need to take place. Okay, somebody's got to pay for that. Okay? Now, where is that money coming from? I mean, we know essentially where it's coming from, but because it's coming from there, where is that money not going to go?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how is that going to affect your budgets?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of these smaller producers here too, and one guy was saying like, "Hey, like, I make movies for $300,000. There's like no way I'm going to be able to do this sort of stuff. Like we can barely afford a location for the 2 days, let alone 5."
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be. Yeah, it's interesting times. You just don't know. You just don't know how things are going to shape out.
Yeah, and
I think as long as everybody knows this and remembers this and realizes that it's not just you that's not getting the money to do this, or it's not you that's having to do this because of it. I mean, we're all in this boat together, this big marble we live on. We're all in it together. I think we need to just remember that we're all in this together, and things are going to change, and everybody has to make sacrifices one way or another. and try to sort things out.
Well, that was part 2 of our conversation. If you have any questions, comments, please write them below. Hit like, subscribe if you like what you hear and want us to do more, because that's important feedback for us to know. And if you have any suggestions on who we should talk to, that would be great. We have some interesting guests coming up. The next episode will be with Chris Bavoda, one half of the creative team that created the recent indie feature hit Dead Dicks that premiered at the Fantasia Film Festival last year in 2019. So stick around for that. Thanks for listening.